Hi, so as you guys found out, you actually really like me and Sofi switching aesthetics, so today we're gonna switch our lives for 24 hours. We will have 3 main challenges.
From doing our hobbies to testing our friends.
In the end of the video, we'll find out who did the best, gonna have a privilege of choosing a punishment for the loser.
Hopefully I win.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Okay, let's keep it rolling. And now we shift to Sofi Manassyan. Because while Nevada was spiraling and making headlines for all the wrong reasons, Sofi was quietly building her own case without even saying a word. And the contrast between the two of them could not be clearer. Sofi's story is almost the opposite. She is only 17. She came into the space with this fresh energy, this sense of fun and balance. She was dancing, acting, posting goofy content that actually made people feel good instead of drained. And she gained a reputation for being relatable and genuine. She would make silly jokes about food, giving her energy to nap. She would laugh at herself. She would share little snippets of her day that felt normal, and fans gravitated toward that because in a world full of creators glamorizing toxicity, Sofi felt like a breath of fresh air. And this is why, when she slowly started pulling away from Nevada, people noticed immediately it wasn't just about missing. Collabs, it was about the sudden silence, the missing likes, the subtle unfollows, all the little signals fans track like detectives. And it didn't take long for them to piece it together, that Sofi wasn't just busy, she was protecting herself. And once her side of the story started leaking out, people finally understood just how manipulative, draining, and even dangerous that so-called friendship had become. So let's break down Sofi's case, the way people have pieced it together, because this is not just some teen friendship gone wrong. It is a cautionary tale. Sofi was the youngest in the group. She was constantly surrounded by adults, older creators with more experience and a different moral compass. And yet, she was the one who showed the most maturity by stepping away before things spiraled out of control. Fans saw her as the only one in that circle who wasn't chasing clout at any cost. She wasn't starving herself for views. She wasn't collabing with adult content creators. She wasn't faking trauma storylines. She was simply building her platform on talent and personality. And that is why people rallied behind her. When she went quiet, they said things like the fact that Sofi is 17 and already the most mature is crazy. And they meant it, because when you put her next to Nevada, the difference is night and day. Sofi's brand is growth, balance, and authenticity, while Nevada's brand has devolved into chaos, controversy, and damage control. And the more we look at Sofi's silence, the more it becomes clear she was never running away. She was removing herself before she got dragged into something that could have wrecked her image and possibly her mental health. And honestly, that is why. Her case matters because it shows the power of simply walking away and letting the truth reveal itself on its own. Sometimes the smartest move is not to fight back, but to step aside and let the other person implode publicly. And that is exactly what happened here.
Is making a huge name for herself, and she is also incredibly well recognized by her distinctive look, with her long black luscious hair, her very out there Brat Stoll-like makeup style, her incredibly edgy and trendy fashion, and her very well-known group of friends recently of her collaborating with 2 pretty, I wouldn't even say low-key, like I'm going to say 2 high-key problematic influencers, right? Now, if you are active on social media, you would have heard Anna Malangon and Jenna. Now, it doesn't take a genius to know that Anna is a OnlyFans creator. She is, and she is absolutely shameless about it. She's very beautiful, I have to give that to her, but she is shamelessly promoting her content on Instagram with very creative ways, right? Jenna doesn't seem like she has a OnlyFans account, but she has a page where it's very suggestive that she has some sort of...
Let's go. Let's go. Please have a seat, Nevada. I do not want to remove all my tabs. Well, you're actually...
Alright, so if we keep looking deeper at Sofi Manassyan's case, the more you realize that her entire journey is basically a survival story inside the influencer machine. Because while most people think these friendships are just collabs and goofy TikToks, the reality is way darker. These friendships are branding deals. They are contracts without the paperwork. They are carefully curated partnerships designed to boost engagement. And Sofi walked right into that world at 17, while still, technically, a kid. She was placed next to older influencers like Nevada, who had already learned how to game the system. and Sofi became the bright accessory, the wholesome piece in a much messier puzzle. But the difference with Sofi is that she never leaned into the toxic formulas. Instead, she carved out her lane by being relatable and normal in an industry that thrives on shock and attention. She cracked light jokes about naps, about food, about being clumsy, and it resonated because it was real. So when fans watched her slowly distance herself from Nevada, it became a mystery worth solving. They started pulling receipts, noticing when she stopped liking posts, when she skipped collabs, when she quietly shifted her energy, and those tiny moves spoke volumes without her ever having to say a word. Because if you are 17, in a group full of adults, and you start pulling back, it usually means something is off. And in this case, the receipts lined up perfectly with the chaos Nevada was creating online. And this is where Sofi's maturity becomes almost the centerpiece of her case. Because think about it, most teens in her position would have been swallowed by the clout machine. They would have stuck around thinking the attention was worth it. Even if it felt uncomfortable, they would have been pressured into skits, into collabs, into shock content just to stay relevant. But Sofi chose differently. She chose silence over spectacle. She chose to protect her peace instead of grabbing the easy clicks. And that is exactly why her fan base respects her so much, because she showed that even without calling anyone out by name, even without dropping a messy Notes app apology, she could still tell her story through. Her actions fans started interpreting her silence as strength. They called her the most mature in the group. They said she dodged a bullet. They even started praising her for setting an example for younger viewers who might feel pressured to stay in toxic circles. And that is the core of Sofi's case. She did not just escape a bad friendship, she modeled what it looks like to step away with dignity. She avoided being complicit in dangerous content, like glamorizing eating disorders, collabing with adult creators, or faking stalker romances. And in doing so, she preserved her image, her safety, and her future. And that quiet decision spoke louder than anything. Nevada was screaming for clout online. So at the end of all this, when you look at everything side by side, the picture becomes painfully clear. Nevada built her brand on chaos, shock, and recklessness. She glamorized starving herself. She partnered with adult creators while knowing her core audience was made up of teenagers. She even romanticized stalking as if it were just another quirky storyline. And then when the backlash hit, she tried to cover it up with a fake healing arc, complete with therapy sponsorships and reflective captions. But the truth never really went. Away her behavior spoke louder than her words, and fans began to see the patterns for what they were: a cycle of clout-chasing manipulation and irresponsibility. Meanwhile, Sofi Manassyan handled the same environment in the exact opposite way. At just 17 years old, she recognized the red flags. She recognized the draining energy. She recognized that staying close to Nevada could have pulled her into situations she wanted no part of. And instead of waiting for things to implode, she removed herself quietly without messy callouts or drama. She just chose peace and growth. And that choice is what set her apart. And that is really the conclusion to this entire story. Sofi's silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. It was strength. It was proof that maturity doesn't always come with age. Sometimes it comes with self-awareness and the ability to walk away from a bad situation before it poisons your future fans. Now see her not just as the mature one in the group, but as the one who proved you can thrive without giving in to the toxic side of influencer culture. And the lesson here for everyone watching is simple. Clout fades. Drama burns out. Fake arcs collapse. But integrity and self-respect will carry you further than any viral stunt ever could. So if there is anything to take away from the Sofi and Nevada fallout, it is this: sometimes the bravest thing you can do is nothing at all. You don't need to fight back. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to step away and let the truth reveal itself. And that is exactly what Sofi did, and why so many people are now calling her not just the most mature in the group, but the one who got out just in time.
Pink that! Where's my Billie Eilish shirt? Oh my god, ew! Ugh. Oh my gosh, what am I wearing? Oh! What is this? No, 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 no.